All right, let's talk heavyweights. You know what? As a matter of fact, let's just talk Francis. Let's talk specifically Francis. I had a very nice comment by somebody. I read the comments. Somebody said Chael single-handedly has kept Francis relevant. If it wasn't for Chael, I would have forgotten who Francis was, and that's just the reality, right? When somebody retires, when somebody leaves the sport, I mean, its stock drops really, really fast. And there's ways to measure that. Merchandising would just be a great example. But if somebody leaves the sport, their jerseys don't still sell. There's just things. And whether you left because you were hurt, or you left because you weren't coming back, or you left because you were in a contract, just one commonality exists in all three of those statements: you left. Somebody said that I kept him alive. And I got to tell you, that's true. I appreciate that compliment because it's not felt. I've seen Francis. I don't ever get thanked. Francis has my phone number. He's never thanked me. As a matter of fact, Francis is the text behind. My son, this is very cute. My son ordered a toy. It was the Francis Ngannou toy. I've got the video. I should actually send you guys the video. My son opened the toy. And he's got a few. He's got a Donald Cerrone. He's got a Dominic Cruz. He's got Uriah Faber. But when the toy comes and he opens, I film him. I film him open it. And then I send that video to Cowboy. I send it to Faber. I send it to Dominic, right? And they all get back to me. And my son gets a big thrill about this. I send it to Francis. He ghosted me. That will piss a guy like me off, just so you know. But I didn't take vengeance. This was almost a year ago. I didn't even mention it to you guys. I'm trying to prove a point that while I have kept him alive, while I have kept the discussion, I don't get thanked. In fact, I get viewed as a villain. And that's strange to me. It really is. That's strange to me. And I'm observing what he's doing because I've never quite seen it before. It's new. I hedged my guess of what kind of conflicts he would run into with the strategy that he was invoking. And it was a guess. And then we sat back and just saw what happened and then discussed it along the way. I had never seen a top guy in negotiations to this level. Somebody that could work directly with the boss. Whether that was Dana directly, whether that was Poker directly, whether that was Chachery directly, right? I've never seen somebody at that level that could get those meetings, that did it themselves. They always had representation. They always had a manager. Just by example, it was just one thing that I'd never seen before. So, as Francis came to terms with the PFL, how did we get here? I am very interested in that because it did look at a couple of different times along the way. Now, it was always a stretch, right? You got to be Stretch Armstrong to quite get there, but there was things along the way that made it look like this boxing thing was going to happen. The biggest thing is him being in the ring at Wembley in front of 93,000 live people with Tyson Fury, the most powerful voice in the sport, or so we thought, saying, I'm going to fight him. It turned out old Tyson's really good at boxing. He's got no power. That's what it turned out. He said, this is my opponent. He's standing here. I'm marketing this. I'm building this up. Israel Adesanya has told us every single time for 4 years who he's going to fight yet. And guess what? He fights him every time. Tyson Fury comes out, tells us who he's going to fight next. Turns out Tyson has no power. They don't actually respect him. They want him to fight, and they'll pay him some money, and this is the deal. Okay, fair enough, but we didn't know that. I don't think Francis knew that. Francis probably thought, I'm in the ring, I'm with the champ. The guy said he's got 93,000 fans. He says he wants to fight me. We got a good story. I want good money, but I mean, I don't want crazy money by your guys' standards. Like, you know what, whoever this tub of guts that Tyson just beat up is, I don't even know what he made, but just give me what he made. Right, in all fairness, it seemed like we could get this done. They're going to make up their rules and whatever they're going to do, but it seemed like they could get this done. Then you got Deontay Wilder. Now, in all fairness, see, Deontay's another guy. Deontay's another guy that's mad at me. Can you imagine? I mean, could you imagine? Because it takes a lot. I've done a lot of things in this world, but you guys don't ever hear me get called out. There's some guys you don't call out, and I understand my time is, I understand that, but you didn't ever hear me get called out. Because if you called me out, you would be fighting me right now, right? There was fake tough guys, and then there was guys like me. Never. I get Deontay Wilder calls me out. Deontay Wilder, who has no chance against me. Deontay Wilder calls me out. Okay. Now, Deontay Wilder, by the way, was arrested yesterday for carrying guns. That's him. I hope that case goes very well, but he's probably carrying the gun because of me. I mean, in all fairness, right? He's probably carrying the gun because he said something stupid about me and knew he had no skills. He's going to shoot me. But what a coward. And the only thing I said about him was that I said he was a coward. He talks tough and looks like he's from a rough part of town. It turns out he carries a gun because he's a wimp. And that's all that I said. On the day that he came out, on the day Wilder came out and said, I'm going to box Francis, he gave his word. Francis called him on that publicly. Publicly. Francis said, I hope you are a man of your word. That was all Francis said. Francis has always been polite. He's treated everybody nice. I came and told the world why Francis is waiting on bended knee. Deontay Wilder's not a man of his word. He's a scumbag. And it turns out I was right. And now he's packing a gun. I think because of me. I really do think that. It might not be, but I think it's because of me. Okay. Along the way, we start hearing about Francis, right? And the stories get pretty weird. They get pretty weird. And in this sport, from the beginning of time, if you don't want to fight, now, you want the image. You want to be involved in it. You want people to look at you and think of you in a certain way. But you don't actually want to go in there and do it. All you had to do was price yourself out. That was it. Very common thing to do. If the going rate was 70 grand, you would come out and you'd make it clear, I'll fight any man. Any man. I need $250,000. Right? You'd be 4 times more than the going rate. It was a very common thing. And a lot of those guys got called on their number, talked another one, showed up and took the beating. It's called pricing yourself out. Anything that you do in a negotiation that is going to lead you to the result that you intended, which is to not reach a deal, would fall into the same category as pricing yourself out. So when we're told, UFC just by example, I think they were the first one up, right? That Francis wanted something added to every single fighter's contract, 700 plus. And you got to understand, the organization has that very thing in contracts, but it's not for everyone. That's true. That it's something to aspire to. It's something to get you off of jerking the curtain or making your debut. It's something to make you a contender. The drive is called aspiration. It's extremely common. Within any business, you would have some kind of a drive. Incentive is the word that I'm looking for. So it was a very strange thing to ask for. And the other side of it, right, the impolite, but to be more direct, it's none of your business. What my deal is with them is none of your business. Real simple. Okay. So it didn't work out, right? Then we hear from Chachery that Francis wanted a seat on the board and he wanted to decide how much his opponent got paid. Francis is getting teased for that one. Even by my inner circle, right over here at Bad Guy Inc., he's been teased. But I don't know what it means I can't tease him. I actually think, if I had to guess, I think what it means is he wants his opponent taken care of. He wants to make sure that that guy is getting money. He wants to be known as, hey, if you come in and you work with me, you fight with me. Right? It's a red panty night to steal Conor's phrase. I think that's what he meant. I don't think that he meant what some people have interpreted to be, which is, I want to make sure this guy's a $500,000 guy. I'll make sure he's not all that good. I don't believe that. And I don't know, and I don't even know that we need to get to the bottom of it. I think we can at least agree that's really weird. That would be a really, really weird thing to do. And I don't think there'd be anywhere in history that you could look back and say, yeah, that's what they did. I could go back to the 92 Bulls and Michael Jordan. And that's just not what they did. They just didn't give him a piece, regardless of the level of success that he had, of which was unknown. It was unknown. They didn't know he was going to come back in 93 and 4 and 5, just by example. And then what would happen? What would happen if they did give him? He's still there today, right? He's half cocked out here. He's smoking cigars, betting a Rolex on a golf game. His son's tagging Scottie Pippen's old lady. I mean, right? It's guy's now on your board just because he sunk some baskets in 92. I mean, do you see the problem? Maybe you don't. But I don't know of a time that you could point to. It's just kind of a weird request. Can we agree on that? Okay. So now that Francis is with the PFL, that will be good news, right? And everything in life is this way. Everything, yeah, right? What do we know? What goes up must come down. You run this way for a little bit, maybe you go down again. Hopefully you can correct it, and hopefully you have those ups, right? It's just life. But the way this works in a world of marketing, whatever you pay a free agent, whatever that is, that number is going to be larger than you generally would have paid him for what's known as a bounce. If I think I can get exposure and media and headlines and topics, I'll pay for that. That's worth something. I want people discussing I want them discussing my brand. If this gives them a build where I'm really sure that they're going to discuss, that's worth something. I'll give it to the guy. I mean, I'm just sharing that with you because it will go up. They're right. It's 101. They're not reinventing the wheel, but just so you understand how this wheel works, and very few people do. When you have that announcement, you're now on an up. That is great. That's big news. Wow. And we'll have something to go with that. Right? There'll be information. There'll be roughly a date. There'll possibly be a venue. Right? You want to get as many of the W's out as you can. The who, what, when, why, and where on that very initial. However, you don't want to get them all. You could even go as far as 4 of the 5. You want to hold one back. Right? You want to keep one in the chamber so you can fire it a few more weeks from now. Keep those headlines, but I'll just share with you. So you're going to have this bounce. You're going to have this up when they finally make the announcement. I don't know what the delay is. I guess this is the announcement, but when they finally make the announcement, they're going to be up. Then they're going to come down when they make the next announcement because that's going to be the opponent. There's no way. There's no human out there where when it gets revealed who Francis's opponent is, where the MMA fans are going to right on. That's the one I wanted. And that's not unique to the PFL. I wouldn't I really respect their roster. Everybody has that problem. Chatri wasn't sure how he was going to solve it. Coker didn't know how to solve it, but he did know what he wasn't going to do. He wasn't going to put Bader in there with him. If I'm going to give this guy a bunch of money, I'm not going to have Bader come out and stomp him out in the very first round, which is what would have happened. That was closer to plan, but Dana's got the same issue. Dana's got one guy for him to fight. That's Jon Jones. And he's crazy. We don't know if he's going to fight again. It's just a really hard spot. Are they going to observe the protocols of the PFL? I hope so, and I think so. I could not imagine. Because they're doing a really good job. They really are. Now they're going international. They're going to different countries. They're doing a great job. They're putting on 10 events. Now they're putting on almost 30 events. They are doing a great job. I could not imagine that they would bend their own policies for an athlete. Because now who's in charge, right? And there are organizations that have done that, none of which are around today. You go to the PFL, you go into a tournament. Who's your first draw? Who else is in the tournament? That should be the reveal, but there's a part of me that fears it's not. Part of me that fears that's not what's going to happen. We will see. And sure, the speculation is out there. If he goes over, he's going to be fighting with Verdum. And I have Verdum as one of the greats ever. Go on. Finish Fedor. Finish Cain Velasquez in his Mexico sim. Come on. Verdum's incredible, but you're not going to have the bounce. You're not going to have something that gets home. There's just not a guy out there. There's not a guy out there. Coker was going to bring him in and not put him with a guy who was going to make him look bad. I'm just sharing with you, there's some moving parts. There's some things that need to be worked out. I am very much of the mind of let's look after the fight. The fighters are great. The fighters are good. I'm very much of that mind. That's a very real thing. And when we can start to have a conversation on exactly what that means, that comes with heart and that comes with support. And that's my community. And I would never turn on them. Never. I stand with the boys in the locker room. I don't stand with the office. I stand with the boys. The other side of it that isn't as nice to talk about, here's our deal. I pay you, you fight. That's our deal. We work on it ahead of time. We know what the rules are. We know what the weight is, and I'll get you the opponent's name plenty in advance. But I'm going to pay you, and you're going to fight. That's the deal. And if you fight, and I pay you, the deal is now honored. It doesn't come with board seats, and it doesn't come with interference in other people's contracts that have already been agreed to. That's an update on the heavyweights.